This is very simple. We right now have a white supremacist that is sitting in the White House. He is backed up by other white supremacists. And if you really want to know who the criminals are in this country, you can Google it. You don't have to trust me. But the people that commit 80% of the most violent crimes in this country are white supremacists.
Ah, yes. That is a Democrat member of the House of Representatives of the United States Congress. Her name is Jasmine Crockett, and she has the brain. I accused her of having the brain of a squirrel last week, and someone that raises squirrels called in to object. And rightly so, I think. That's right. The people that commit 80% of the most violent crimes in the United States, the entire country, are white supremacists. 80% of violent crime. She's a racist and a liar or a complete idiot because she's an absolute nitwit. And it doesn't end there because the media goes there too. And Jasmine Crockett, I mean, that is so completely berserk, so completely insane. Might as well say that every single crime in the country was committed by Jasmine Crockett. It couldn't be more ridiculous. The claim that she made. When did she? That was a couple of weeks ago, huh? Oh, it was February. That's months ago now. In February, but the soundbite was so racist and so ridiculous that we held on to it for you. And a very good, a very, very good Wednesday too. And welcome back once again. Let's go back to the audio actualities, shall we? We remain at 888-630-9625. 888-630-9625. I'd like to go to Don Lemon. Don Lemon, you know Don Lemon. He used to be at CNN, and they fired him because he is an idiot, and he gets everything wrong, and it became too embarrassing for CNN to have Don Lemon on because he gets everything wrong. But let's go to the Don Lemon audio because he was on a podcast, and he's just making stuff up like, oh, the big crowd. Hey, what about you in the back of the crowd? It's a podcast. There's no crowd there. Don Lemon, but he even lies about that, figuring that nobody will see. But listen to this. He's attacking white men in particular. You like electricity, Don? You're welcome. You're welcome. Air travel? Sure, that's on us. Don't worry about that. Modern medicine? Yeah, sure. Go ahead and take advantage. He just wants the government to pay for it. Instantaneous global communication? Sure, yeah. Cancer treatments? The chemotherapy, open heart surgery, all these white men thing.
Just say thank you, please.
Just say thank you. But let's go to Don Lemon. He says that white men, he's a racist and an unintelligent man, and he's a gay man. He needs to tell you that in every conversation. And he's got a husband because he's a gay man, and so naturally that makes sense. And his husband is a white man who must be a very violent individual, and that can lead to all kinds of bad things. But Don Lemon claims white men are broken, and to blame for mass violence in the United States in unhinged rant. And then he said, it's just the truth. This is just the truth. It's not, of course. He's a liar. His pants are on fire, and that has nothing to do with his lying. His pants are on fire for a completely unrelated reason. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon, the New York Post is reporting, launched into a bizarre explosive rant blaming white men as the real issue, those are his words, behind mass violence in America. Yeah, I guess Chicago and D.C. and Baltimore are filled with white supremacists committing all those murders. White men, are you okay? You're sending troops, National Guard into cities. I don't think white men are doing that, maybe a white man. But so when Barack Obama was using the U.S. military to attack 8 countries around the world, should I have blamed black men everywhere for that? Because, what the heck? And I watch this and I marvel. Now, I want to play the audio for you because this is Don Lemon. And again, mainstream news media, mainstream Democrat racist and a very silly man, a very, very silly man, Don Lemon.
White men, something is broken. Something is cracked deep inside when so many of you believe the answer to fear, to loss, to change is violence. Are you listening to me? I hope I'm saying it loud enough for the people in the back.
There are no people in the back. You don't have to say anything loudly enough. And maybe you should access the internet. Maybe this is why Joe Biden wanted to make sure that everybody had free government-funded high-speed internet wherever they are. But the most ridiculous thing, and you know, it's always considered to be impolite to talk about the black homicide rate, and in particular the black male homicide rate in the United States. And they call you racist for citing statistics, right? Now, let me just share a couple of statistics with you from the, and this is going to be generous. It could be less generous. But I went to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Bureau of Justice Statistics, BJS, not BLS. We got all these abbreviations in Washington. The 2023 numbers, they don't have all the numbers in for 2024 yet because the Democrats murdered so many people that we're still counting. But extraordinary. Let me go to this. The homicide rate overall in the United States 2023 was 5.9%. That means there are 5.9 murders per 100,000 people in the population. All right? And it turns out that for black persons, black men and black women, all right, again, 5.9 per 100,000. So 5.9 is the number. That's the rate. For black people, it's 21.9. Now, that is, 21.3. 21.3. That's for black persons, male and female. 21.3 per 100,000. Overall, 5.9 per 100,000. Among white people, 3.2. The homicide rate is 3.2 per 100,000 for white people, 21.3 for black people. And Don Lemon is saying, well, you know, these white people are a real threat, and don't you know that they're the overwhelming threat to everything? You can look further and scratch the surface a little more, Don Lemon. The 2023 homicide victimization rate for black males was 46.1 per 100,000. That's more than 4 times the overall male homicide victim rate, 8 times the rate for white males, 8 times the rate for white males. Okay? And that's, these are the statistics from the U.S. government. Now, Don Lemon, he's not done yet because he's a racist and he's the worst journalist that the world has ever seen. He just makes things up, and he comes out and says, and emphatically, and he's yelling his racist rant that white people are the real danger to everything. Isn't that amazing? Don Lemon, white men are broken. Violence is not the answer. And Don Lemon, he's angry with the white people. He said, white men, are you okay? You're sending troops, National Guard, into cities. That's what he said in the same episode of the same podcast. You keep talking about, Chicago and black-on-black crime. I want to know, white men, are you okay? Because that's the real issue here. The real issue here is white men, are you okay? Now, let me point this out, too. They're talking about mass shootings. A mass shooting is any shooting in which at least 4 people are shot. At least 4 people are shot. If 4 people or more are shot, that's considered to be a mass shooting. There was a mass shooting at a Mormon church in Michigan very recently, and a lunatic who is dead now shot and killed 4 people and wounded 8 more. And that's a horrible atrocity, and it's a mass shooting. The same weekend, just last weekend, that was just Sunday, the same weekend in Chicago, just a normal weekend in Chicago, 4 people murdered by homicide, shot to death, 12 shot and wounded in presumably attempted homicides, right? Now, and that's normal. That's not news. Nobody responds. The White House doesn't respond. The mayor doesn't even respond. The governor doesn't respond because that's normal. and those are acceptable levels of homicide in the city of Chicago. Don Lemon said, this country keeps waking up to bodies in the pews. He must be talking about the transgender lunatic that attacked the Catholic Church in Minnesota a couple of weeks ago, gunned down 2 little children praying in the Catholic Church at the Catholic school because the transgender lunatic was loony. That wasn't exactly the first transgender attack. When there are transgender attacks, you know that they're Democrats, right?
I want to know, white men, are you okay? Because that is the real issue here. Because this country keeps waking up to bodies in the pews, blood on the floor, gunfire in public places.
Uh-huh.
And the faces behind the trigger looks the same nearly every single time. This is just the truth. I don't care if you get mad about it.
I don't care if you get mad. Well, the black population is 14% in the United States, and the white population is more than 50%. And so there would naturally, if you understood anything about statistics, I've also been arguing for quite some time now that statistics should be required in high school so that you don't have Don Lemon out there in public. But, yeah, we keep waking up to bodies in the pews. Transgender, and he racializes it because he's a racist. But the reality is, of course, that the homicide rate among black people in the United States of America is off the charts crazy. The number of people shot and wounded, and it's overwhelmingly black people shooting other black people. It's not like there are white supremacists out there shooting white people and shooting black people, rather, or shooting anybody. Just amazing stuff. And then liberals, lefties, they love to single out an incident like the Mormon church horror in Michigan recently and say, oh, well, he's a right-winger. And I say, well, what makes him a right-winger? Well, he shot up a Mormon church. And what does that have to do with being a right-winger? Well, the guy had a Trump sign in his front yard. With a stop sign under it, so it's a bit ambiguous. And we found a photo of the guy from 2019 on Facebook wearing a Trump shirt. Okay, so that makes him a right-winger, and that's the standard we're going to use. All right, now let's look at every murder in the United States of America, just the same month. And if you don't have a Trump T-shirt from 5 years ago, and there's not a Trump sign on your fence with a stop sign beneath it, which just leads to more confusion, then say, well, he's a right-winger. Well, then pretty much every murder in every big city is a Democrat murder by that standard. If that's the metric, the standard that you're going to use, then that's reasonable.
Are there exceptions? Every once in a while, there's one person of color, there's a black man who does it or whatever. There may be a woman, a trans person. But white men.
A woman, a trans person. This
is you. Are you okay? Because America is not okay, and it won't be okay until we tell the truth.
Well, I'm in favor of that. Let's tell the truth. If you'd like, I know you don't want to, but we can look at the homicide rates. And Don Lemon, you're not going to fare very well on this because the numbers are skewed so horribly when it comes to black homicide. That's black people being murdered. I think more than 90% by other black people. And the numbers ought to be horrifying, and I've been talking about this for years and years, just by the way. Isn't it amazing? In 2023, the numbers are easy enough to find if Don Lemon were interested in being serious, but he's not, of course. 2023, we had 19,800 murders. 15,440 of them were male. Only 4,360 female. 8,070 were white. 11,060 were black. But you see, black people are 14% of the population of the United States. Much smaller percentage. Black people should have 1/6 the number of homicides, not an enormously greater number of homicides. But that's Don Lemon because he's a racist, and he's perfectly comfortable being a racist in a very public way. and being utterly ignorant when it comes to statistics, even though he presumably knows how to use the internet, at least for certain things.
Don't be disrespectful to people, or not respectful. Disrespectful, I think, is not actually a word.
I haven't even gotten to Hillary Clinton hating on white men yet. It's all about her husband and their terrible marriage. Let's, in the meantime, go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Greg, calling from Waldorf, Maryland. Gregory, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
Hey, Greg.
I am back with you. Last time I was with you, I got cut off and hauled off to a gulag, but I escaped.
Thankfully, you escaped. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yes, sir. But why is it the Democrats want to talk about telling truth? They know they're allergic to that. They can't tell the truth.
It's true.
And when will we get away from this race theory and this race conversation as it was created by communists and actual white supremacists centuries ago to cause division, but yet we all use the term. We're all brown. There's not a black or a white person anyone's ever seen that's living.
It's true. That's true.
We need to come together as Americans.
White people are kind of
peach,
kind of peach color, peachy, and and then nice chestnut brown, nice colors. It's true. We're all very nice colors from all over the world. Very nice colors. Yeah, but you're right about the commies. The left, it's race, class, and gender and all things. It literally goes back to Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin using race to divide, and the left does it here very effectively, don't they, Greg?
Absolutely. And speaking as a brown person who's recovered from that theory, and I'm totally a right-winger, first of all, Christian, I try to reach those who are still subjected to the victimhood mentality of the white master they still serve under, and it's hard to convince them.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I've noticed that, too. You're right about that. Well, and you fall, you're conservative, you're Christian. Let's see, who else can I think of that's conservative and Christian, been in the news lately? Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk comes to mind. The Democrat Party, in addition to being racist, is also violent because they're not liberals, Greg. They're the left.
Yes, thanks for the correction. You're absolutely correct. The left is far different from being a liberal. It
really is. I'll hang out with a liberal all day long and talk about stuff, and we can disagree and then, get a sandwich and change the subject and move along. But a lefty, that's a different thing altogether. So, Greg, what should we do? What do we have to do?
Well, all we can do, Chris, is pray and continue to speak truth to the hostility that's out here. That's all we can do, buddy.
I think that sums it up very nicely. And I believe that. Yeah, the truth and prayer go a very, very long way. Our Democrat Party, have you seen Harvard law professor emeritus and lifelong liberal Democrat Alan Dershowitz commenting on the state of the Democrat Party today? I have that for you today. And we played Don Lemon that saying that white people are responsible for all the violence. And what's the actual language that he used? Like the lion's share of the violence is white men. White men are broken. White men are broken. Okay, sure, yeah, and you're okay. Sending troops, National Guard into cities where overwhelmingly people of color are murdering each other, and the crime is so off the charts that it puts to shame any church massacre that Don Lemon refers to. And again, I don't know how many times you have to go down the list, but these guys don't pay attention. They don't follow the news. They're not intelligent people. They're not serious people. They're not journalistic people. They're not analytical people. They're not statistical people. And Don Lemon is perfectly typical of what has become of the American news media. And he's a left-wing racist as well, which is kind of an amazing thing. Country keeps waking up to bodies in the pews. Okay. Blood on the floor. Sure. Gunfire in public places, and the faces behind the trigger look the same nearly every single time. And he says that's white men. White men. And I tell you, Don, you Gotta scratch that surface. Get out there and scratch that surface, Don. I've got more audio to get to, and I want to share with you Alan Dershowitz, too, because he talks about the Democrat Party in very realistic terms. But right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Wallace, calling from the great state of Kansas. Wallace, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Yeah, good morning, Chris. Hey, just an observation. Just over the last decade or two, it seems to me that the T portion of the LGBTQ movement has taken more life than the KKK has. And why is the KKK a domestic terrorism organization, but LGBTQ isn't if they're killing more people?
And, well, that's an interesting question because certainly there have been a great many T massacres and shootings from Aurora, Colorado, and Club Q to the Christian school in Nashville, Tennessee, to the list goes on and on, the Catholic school in Minnesota just a couple of weeks ago. And it's such a minuscule percentage of the population that the per 100,000 standard would potentially make the T people in the LGBTQ be the number one a group of murderers in the country.
Yeah, you are literally safer at a Klan rally than you are a Pride parade. That's what they've done.
Well, yeah, honestly, and I was talking about it. I was in Chicago over the weekend, and there was a massacre at a 4th of July parade at Highland Park, Illinois, just north of the city of Chicago several years ago. And the young man that perpetrated the mass murder, Don Lemon would say, "Oh, he was a white guy." Well, he was dressed in women's clothing. Does that change anything at all? And then you go look for it online, and there are 1,000 websites that say he was not transgender. He was just dressed as a woman when he shot up the parade and murdered 7 people. And that makes all the difference to them. And that, somehow that makes sense to the modern Democrat. Honestly, Wallace, they're nuts.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead and finish your thought.
Taking a call. I just wanted people to see that comparison.
Well, and it is, you're right, and they talk about white supremacists all the time. And, okay, let's talk about white supremacist murders. And you find a black racist, the Don Lemon types, and they'll say every crime committed by a white person is a white supremacist. And, okay, let's apply that standard to black crimes, black criminals, black murders, and then we'll compare and contrast once again. But again, the numbers are extremely stark, and the black crime problem is something that if we had any political leadership in black America, they would have taken it up long ago, and it would be a serious issue. The Reverend Al Sharptons and the Barack Hussein Obamas, they would take this up. I don't know, what do we have last year or the year before? 12,000 black people murdered in 1 year, a number much greater than the total number of African Americans killed in the entire Vietnam War. And that's in 1 year. And everybody yawns and goes to Starbucks and doesn't pay any attention to it.
You'll get no argument out of me. I'm just tired of being beat up on because I'm a straight white guy. I'm being labeled the sicko.
Yeah.
But someone with the likes of Don Lemon isn't a sicko.
Right.
Every time a trans person commits a crime, someone needs to shove a microphone in his face and say, "You need to apologize for your people. You're responsible for everything that a gay or trans or LGBTQ person does. You're responsible."
Well, you're talking
that's
about
what they do to us.
Having consistent standards, and as you know, Wallace, were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all.
Hey, by the way, do we still have to pay taxes since the government's shut down?
That's a fair question. Maybe we should get, for every day that the government is closed, we should withhold the taxes that we would ordinarily pay for that day. I'll look into that.
I only get paid when I work.
And yeah, right.
I mean, it's a side note, so.
No, it's important, though. And in fact, I've got audio for you on that coming up as well because I pulled audio on that. Wallace, great call. Have a great Kansas day.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
God bless you. Yeah. I lived in KC-Mo. I lived on the Missouri side of Kansas City, but lived in Kansas City for not too terribly long, but about 6 months, I think. And then it was time for my starter marriage to come to an end. My starter marriage had to come to an end. All right, so let me see. We were talking about Don Lemon, and Wallace was also talking about making reference to Don Lemon. And, you know, those evil white people are responsible for all the killings in America. Every time you look up, it's a white guy.
White men. Something is broken. Something is cracked deep inside when so many of you believe the answer to fear, to loss, to change is violence.
Yeah, that's why the white homicide rate is 3.2 per 100,000, and the black homicide rate is 21.3 per 100,000, and the black male homicide rate is off the charts. But never mind that. And we're not saying, hey, black males, there's something wrong with you. Your black males are broken inside. That would be racist. But Don Lemon, who is very casually racist, is a racist. He's one of the racists. And then there's Hillary Clinton. She has issues with her husband. I think we all know that. Her husband is Bill Clinton, and they're not what you'd call a loving marriage. It's not a loving marriage. But Hillary Clinton was out there, and she was on MSDNC over the weekend, and she was hating on white men too, but at least, you know, she's got something of an explanation. She's married to Bill.
The idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was, dominated by, you know, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology, is just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for.
I'm sorry, what? White men? And of a certain persuasion, and that is, and what is it? Trying to turn the clock back. I got to tell you, and the Democrats want the clock go forward to the next global war and the next genocide. The Democrat Party started the first American Civil War because they love slavery so much and plantations and rape and violence white men. That's the problem that Hillary Clinton has. Isn't that amazing? Hillary Clinton ripped for tone-deaf remarks about white men, quote, of a certain religion, end quote. Sure. Yeah, damaging the U.S. And she's talking about straight white Christian men as villains. The Democrat Party is a warlike party. They're filthy. You know, her slogan, what's her slogan? There is only the fight. There is only the fight. Never marry anyone whose slogan is there is only the fight. They're going to be disagreeable every day. Hillary Clinton has been ripped as tone deaf after she recently suggested that white men of a certain religion were partly to blame for causing such damage to the United States. The former Secretary of State, the Democrats' chief diplomat, was accused of spreading evil after she made the remarks on MSNBC. MSNBC is where she made them just last week on Morning Joke. The idea that you could turn the clock back. Nobody wants to do that. We'd like you guys to stop with the bullwhip and shooting people and assassinating people. How about that? How many people do you guys get to assassinate before you're identified as a terror group? The idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was, little dyslexia, create a world that never was. What was that world that never was? I'm not sure what the world that never was. So the one where illegal alien gang members from Venezuela didn't rape and murder mothers who were out for their exercise walks? Is that the world that never was? You know, let's say it. White men of a certain persuasion. What's that persuasion? What, heterosexual? Is that what it is? A certain religion. She's a racist and a religious bigot, and she's demonstrating that right here. What's with the religious bigotry? She's talking about Christian men because she's anti-American founding, anti-founding fathers, anti-civility. She's a racist and a religious bigot. White men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology. Just get divorced and put us all out of your misery, would you? Just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for, which is totalitarianism. They're coming for your guns and for the organs of your children, which they like to harvest. They do. We're on the path that we were on the right trajectory. We were on the right trajectory? When Joe Biden was president? Isn't that amazing? The backlash against her was swift, with some on social media blasting her for spreading more hate, especially in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination in Utah on September 10th. Isn't that amazing? Charlie Kirk, I guess one of those white men of a certain persuasion, of a certain faith, that would be a certain religion, that would be Christianity, certain persuasion, that would be conservative, white men. I guess they want more people shot and killed, given the rhetoric of the leaders of the Democrat Party. 2 weeks after Charlie Kirk is assassinated, Hillary Clinton reminds everyone that white Christian men are dangerous and doing damage to America. These people have no intention of turning down the temperature. They know they're encouraging what happened, one person tweeted in response. Hillary Clinton makes yet another case for violence against white Christian men. The constant drumbeat against a huge segment of the population is dehumanizing and dangerous, filthy political radical that she is. Her focus on Christianity is chilling, especially given the fact that she can't bring herself to even name the religion. Someone else said on the spread of evil continues. People are responding. Another ripped Clinton for not sounding very egalitarian. Would she like us to assume that while the contributions of all Americans are welcome, some are more welcome than others? Elsewhere in the interview with Morning Joke, who didn't correct her on anything because they're left-wing fascists, Clinton also suggested that some conservatives wanted to turn back the clock. When I turn back the clock, some are actually scared about what's going to happen in our country, she said. Well, you guys should stop shooting people, stop assassinating people, stop rioting and looting every place.
The idea of we the people, that all men and women are created equal, that seems to be in the crosshairs of those on the right.
Crosshairs again. We got crosshairs again. They love, and how many times they use the crosshairs on President Trump, and then they shot him once. We just finished the trial of a second would-be assassin of Donald Trump last week. The Democrat Party is vile, vulgar, violent, vituperative. I just want to do V words in this part of the thing. And aren't they amazing? And they incite more of it from the highest level on down. Where is Barack Obama when it comes to all of this madness? I am telling you, your Democrat Party. Yeah, straight white Christian men. That's the problem. Now, on the we have conference calls, straight white Christian men. We're the patriarchy. We have the patriarchy calls. And we're talking about taking electricity away from you people and clean water and air travel. And all of your internet connections will be turned off. Those terrible straight white Christian men who have gifted you all of these things. No more air travel for you. You're all on the no-fly list. All registered Democrats are on the no-fly list. No Democrats are allowed to own firearms from this point forward. And we'll just politely request that you guys stop shooting people with the guns that you have. We have the government shutdown coming up as well.
What in my background equips me to deal with evil and bad men?
Let's go back to cell phones. Then I'm going to get into the government shutdown, the Schumer shutdown, as it's called correctly. Let's go to Jim, calling from St. Petersburg, Florida. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hi, good morning, Chris.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, my point is just that I've never, ever, I'm 58 years old, I've never heard it brought up by just about anybody, is Martin Luther King's mother's assassination. She was killed by a black man. It's never mentioned. It just doesn't support the narrative.
You know, you're 100% right, and I've got to say, Jim, that Jasmine told me about this and you being on the line. And I said, well, wait a minute. And I went in and I looked it up. Alberta Williams King, the mother of Martin Luther King Jr., was murdered June 30th, 1974. Good Lord, 6 years after Martin Luther King was murdered by Marcus Wayne Chenault, right there at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, while she was playing the church organ. 23-year-old black man, Marcus Chenault, shot her and killed her because he'd become part of the Black Hebrew Israelites, a militant lunatic group. You may remember, Jim, the Black Hebrew Israelites. They're the people harassing Nick Sandman on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial that got that nice kid in all kinds of trouble, the Black Hebrew Israelites, the crazy people. But Martin Luther King's mother was murdered while playing the church organ, shot to death by a 23-year-old black man who had been radicalized. And, you know, Jim, you're right. That is something that every American should be aware of.
You know what else I've never heard mentioned is Robert Mueller's dementia.
Well, I've heard that mentioned here and there. Mueller's dementia. That's true. That's fun.
I heard he's in a locked ward now.
Oh, you heard he's really? You heard he's in a locked ward? I don't know if that's true. I'm going to take a look for it though to see what I can learn about that, because
if you go look for it on the internet, nothing comes up about it. You have to specifically look for it, and it's just they don't cover what they don't know. You know, they don't cover it if it doesn't support the narrative.
Well, and they control the algorithms. It's information dominance, and the left-wing propagandists, they're not truth people. They're not truth people. But I got to tell you, Jim, I thank you, since we're talking about the black crime and white crime. Martin Luther King's mother